Hello everybody, the iLord Root here, and welcome back to another episode of Back to Basics. So I had a little bit of downtime this weekend because I had some things to get done at work, but now I've completed those, and as a consequence I've actually got today off. And so I've been preparing for a number of things, including getting a couple of contracts laid out. Let's just take a look at those real quick. One of the things that we need to do is we need to get an orbital station around the moon. And I will probably also get a lander going as well. But in addition to that, I think that we would be good to also get this building a new surface outpost on Minmus. We should get a fair amount of both science and, in addition to that, we will also get money from that. And of course prestige, but who's keeping track of that? But before we do that, I actually do have a new launch stack to test, in addition to the first of our ITS family. And that ITS family is going to be the things that we're going to leave in orbit. We have ITS Abel and ITS Bermuda. Abel is a fuel tanker that we're going to send to Minmus. And the reason for that is largely because of the fact that we happen to need the fuel. Because we have a lander there that we need to fuel up. Now, as it turns out, there are a number of things that we can do about this, and I think maybe one of the things that we will want to do is, first of all, test this bigger Joe stack. I'm going to just bring up my gear here. This guy has plenty of Delta V that we will use to get into orbit, and really the major improvement here is that this guy can carry about 30 tons or so, although maybe not precisely. But the idea here is that I am going to get this guy into an equatorial orbit, and let's just get that going now. The basic thing here that is really important for us is that this guy is going to bring a half tank of fuel, or I guess it would be a quarter tank. That means that we could use it to fuel both the space station around Minmus and also the one around Kerbal as well. Now, we have these SRBs on here simply so that we do not, we get a little bit of a nudge. It's, maybe not the best thing to have, but definitely one of the things that I want to test is landing on this, because I gave the bigger Joe stack a wider base. So that's something that'll be important. And if we can just get this guy up into the atmosphere, or out of the atmosphere, that would be great. So yeah, a little bit of lag on my end. It's not necessarily the worst though. And we are having our speed decay just a little bit. That's sort of the thing with this, is that I have 4 of these skipper engines, even though I unlocked the main cell. And the reason for the skipper is simply the fact that we don't need the thrust of the main cell, and it's actually a little bit more efficient. I also built outwards here. And one of the things that would be kind of cool about this in the future, you know, we're supposed to be getting support for fairings. And that's one thing to think about. So maybe I could put a huge number of fairings on here in order to encapsulate the sky here. But other than that, it has a total of 24 parachutes, and it has a wide landing base. Now eventually what I want to do with this is use the bigger landing legs, which I believe we will be able to unlock with the science that we've got, because those are going to be really useful to us. And we do actually have a pretty good opportunity for a lot of science here. And money too. Getting these stations into orbit may be initially costly at first, but with this hardware, we can do a number of things. We can do astronaut training, of course, by transferring these guys around the Kerbal system. And so we will have regular crew rotations going on. And other things we can do with it is that whenever we get a contract for science, then it will be possible for us to eventually, you know, just accept the contract, gather the science, and then we will be done. So that'll be very good for us. You can also see that I've installed the Navy Fish's docking alignment mod, and that is for the simple reason that docking would take way too long otherwise, and I don't want my video to be dominated by docking. So I have no problem with using it, it's very useful. And I think we're good to go ahead and begin our pitch program. Now let's get our celestial bodies up here. I'm going to target Minmus with this guy. And I'm thinking we should have more than enough delta V for us to do an inclination correction. Now, at most, we can maybe get about 33 tons with this guy. The biggest issue here is, of course, you know, I would probably say the biggest issue with this guy is the thrust, and so that's why I have solid boosters here. We maybe spend about 10k on these guys here. Or thereabout. And I'm just going to wait for my time to apoapsis to increase just a little bit. Maybe to 45. That seems to be the best way to fly this thing. Now we do incidentally have a bit of extra fuel because I put in a fuel tank for one of these structural members. And really, I'm not expecting much out of this. I want to keep as close to an equatorial orbit as possible because of the fact that, we're not really going to get much out of not having one. And we do have to land this guy back. And it becomes much easier to land at the KSC if you have an equatorial orbit. But yeah, you can see we still have plenty of delta V in this one stage here. And this guy, because of the fact that this stage at the top here has close to, I think it's like 7 kilometers per second of delta V. I'm not really bothered by the idea that we might spend a little bit of that fuel, especially with these really awesome nuclear engines, to get to a trajectory that would be faster for us. Now, of course, getting this guy out of the atmosphere, this maybe is not the best trajectory here. Although we are dealing with much less drag than we normally would. And really what I'd like to do here is go ahead and get this guy into a, I don't know, 70 or 80 kilometer orbit. That may be kind of pushing it a little bit. So I'm going to cut this guy about here. We still have 514 meters per second of delta V, which is plenty. Let's just move forward, see maybe if we can do a little bit better. I mean, I personally think that we can. This weird oscillation mode is quite something, though. Fortunately, the atmospheric drag is not too much at this point. And so I think that we can very easily deal with that. So yeah, we were about to hit this interface between the atmosphere and Kerbin. And what I would like to do in particular is circularize right about here. Shouldn't take too much in the way of delta V. If we just circularize at 79 or so. And in reality, we may be okay for a off-plane transfer. So that is 79 versus 78. I'm willing to take that. And that is, of course, a 2-second burn. So we will get this guy on its way. And then what we will do after that is we will simply get this guy up here. So with that barn, and you know what, let me just extend some solar panels while we are waiting. We do not want to accidentally run out of electric charge on this thing. That's not bad. I like that. Okay, so now will be the time for us to undock here. And let's just move this guy forward just a little bit. Now, one thing that will be very important here is that we actually need to set this guy facing forward here. Because of the way that the docking ports work, we are very much at a disadvantage if we do not. Again, we want to target Minmus. And somewhere around here, it looks like off-plane is not viable. Well, that's okay. We'll just want to get up to some... Oh, I don't know, I think it's 45k for Minmus. That is a moon encounter. Should be ordinarily useful. But not today, I don't think. Well, we were getting pretty close here. And I'm just going to make this adjustment. You know what? Well, I'm gonna go around one time, I think, with this. Because I have no idea if we're close enough. Where is our apsis? I wonder. Let us replot here. Ooh, now that could be rather useful. I really have no idea where it is that we are going to end up here, and I think well, let's first of all see, that's 11 days, so that's no good. we can maybe get this guy in a little bit sooner. 7 days is much, much better to my way of thinking. Though our periapsis is quite high. Oh, what happened here? I had a decent thing going, and then I lost it. Okay, apoapsis is way too shallow here. We will get this. It's just a matter of getting ourselves out far enough. It's a 5-day encounter. I think, you know, maybe if we can lower this, this will be more than enough. Maybe, one of the things we can do to do that is manipulate this guy here. We will be somewhat inclined, but we can take care of that, and for 5 days, that is not bad. That will also give us a little bit of an opportunity here to... Well, first of all, we need to do a couple of things. Let's give ourselves about 3 minutes leeway or so. As, well, there will be this issue here to where I think this will take a rather long time here. If we are not too terribly careful. What with the time acceleration and all. The burn time for that certainly is going to be an issue. But our stage is way, way away from us. And I'm of the mindset, okay, what has happened here? These guys, for some strange reason, have not activated. Okay, 2 minutes and 30 seconds. That is going to be awesome. And then we can correct for inclination later, I think. Let's just get to 1 minute 15 or so, because that's about where we want to burn. And, once we correct for this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to launch a series of launches off screen. So, some things I guess to think about. First of all, I think we definitely do want to get these stations up for sure. The main reason for that, of course, is that we, want to be able to transport back and forth and train these Kerbals. But ITS is going to be about a lot more. ITS, of course, standing for the Interplanetary Transportation System, rather. The basic idea behind ITS is that we want to get into space on the cheap. Now, we could in fact send a ton of rockets that are all capable individually of getting to their destinations. However, that would be very wasteful. The reason being is that, for instance, getting a fuel rocket to Minmus might not be all that easy. And so that's what ITS Abel does. I'm naming these guys in alphabetical order. So the next one is Bermuda. I have a fuel tanker for low orbit operations that I am going to be calling Charlie. Ooh, we better get ourselves aligned here. But the basic idea is that we want to develop this rig that would make it very, very easy for us to land. For instance, for us to transport ourselves around the solar system. And so we'll need to do that. But in addition to that, we also will need other things as well. We will need space stations that are pretty much generic enough for us to send anywhere we want to send them. And that'll be one thing. The other thing we want is for us to... Oh, okay. Let me just get this to... I think it was 45. We are very slightly off course. Maybe I can change that just a little bit. Are we getting closer or further away when we do this? That's the question. Oh, well, this is no good. Let's just get ourselves out here to that 45. Our inclination change is making this slightly harder. Let's just cancel that. And get ourselves an inclination change going. Hmm. "5 days and 5 hours. That's still okay. Really, the best thing for us to be doing now is focusing our view here and saying, first of all, are we coming in the right way? And that appears to be the case. You want to be coming in usually counterclockwise with the planet. Let's see what else we can do. This needs to be on plane with the, this needs to be on plane with the thing here. Which we can make minor plane adjustments here. If we need to. Okay, this is, at least, it looks like it's on plane to me. Let's maybe raise the sky just a shade. I think maybe that's what, 103. If we can go to 80 or so, that would be even better. Let's see, that is... We'll go with that, because that is, not going to be difficult for us to get. And we can very easily stay on target. Let's just tab into... back to our deal here. And time warp to this maneuver node. And that's an 18-second burn, which I believe is more than doable for us. But, yeah, we can get this guy out here as necessary. Now, once this guy is out here, we're going to, basically have this guy rendezvous with the space stations. See, 9 seconds will do it. Can really do any inclination changes that we need to from here. Okay, should be good enough. And, let me just see where we are at. We should be, when we focus on this. That looks pretty good to me. Now, of course, we probably are just a little bit inclined, so let's adjust for that. With RCS, of course. And I think we can go up here and bring this down just a shade. There we go. Let's return now to our, there needs to be an easy way to target this. Let's return now to our probes here. And let's try landing this guy. Now, we can get around this in two ways. We can, first of all, adjust our inclination here. Or we could just go for it. I mean, I think that wouldn't be too bad of an idea. We just go for it. But we are a little close. In fact, we need to make another change anyhow. Oh, you know what? That'll be okay given our position. Let's point retrograde. Now we're pointing. Why is our axis going up? We are pointing in the opposite direction, so that's something to keep in mind with this guy, is that I bet you if we do control from here, that we will be pointed in the right orientation. I think it was just the fact that we were in the wrong area, so to speak. Okay, let's get this down to maybe 40 would be good. Or I'm gonna go with 33. And then we can, because we're so close to our ascending node, we can make the appropriate correction up here for that. So let's go anti-normal. And get that inclination down. Maybe. Our node is incorrect, it looks like. Okay. We'll just do the inclination correction here, I think. That would be in 4 minutes. Now I've got the moon tank for this guy. on on one of these stages as well. I don't think we will have quite the same issues here. I think it just had to do with the fact that we have docking ports here. So let's get as close as we can. And I think this is about in line with the KSC. Maybe other things we could do as well is we could maybe come into the atmosphere a little bit shallower. In fact, I'm gonna come in at a pretty steep angle here. Given our proximity here. And that may mean that perhaps we'll end up in the ocean. Or perhaps we will end up elsewhere. It'd be kind of interesting to see if this thing could survive the ocean. I'm of the mindset that it probably can. This is actually quite an aggressive entry here. And so, we'll just have to see. And there is the moon. The moon is coming up to greet us. Now maybe what I could do here is keep this guy pointing retrograde. I believe we may end up in those mountains. Given our descent. But really, as long as we can get beyond those mountains, and actually that looks to be okay. If we can get past K2, then we will surely recover this thing. That's looking to be a bit doubtful, though. So I'm going to try landing over here. Because while, you know, landing at K2 has this really... it's kind of tricky, and I think K2 is like 12 kilometers high. So I do not really want to worry about that. That means we are now probably going to come down on a slope. Which I don't really see as much of a problem, given our wide base. We don't want to come down on a huge slope as we may be here. But we'll just have to see. If we can recover this in one piece, though, I'll be happy. The, okay, we're coming down at some 9 meters per second. Let's get ourselves stabilized here. Or maybe hope for the best. And give it another tick on our throttle. Oh no! Um, wow. Okay. Obviously, that did not go as well as it could have. I think landing in the water might just be preferable to what we're trying to do. But, we did get some money back. Let's just go over here to the... Well, I will take care of that later, I think. What I will do for now, however, is I will do all of the stuff in between that we need to do, like training this new corps of astronauts. And we'll just use the Cerberus spacecraft for that. For the Centaur. We have a pilot, and an engineer. I want at least one scientist here. I want to balance it all out so that it works out for us. But we'll get this guy into orbit. And we'll get the next crew in orbit as well. And I'm going to launch the moon tank and maybe one of these satellites. And with that, hopefully, there will not be any issues. So I will be right back. And I'll probably see you when I'm bringing one of these guys down. So, be back here in a bit. Okay, we are now re-entering with the... I guess actually the first crew we sent up. I guess I recovered the last crew first. And we are now going to land. I'm going to, in fact, slow down just a little bit because I think we've come in just a little bit too high here. If, maybe... Yeah, we're definitely going to land in the ocean here. But, yeah, this... The main deal with landing on water with this guy, of course, is that there... Oh, maybe I should turn off time acceleration just a wee bit. There is an issue with landing in water with this guy. The main thing being that, we simply cannot support the weight. Is going to come down a little bit too quickly for us. Oh no, come back. But, what we'll do here now is we will just go ahead and descend down to the water. And, what we'll do now, if we can, we'll just time warp a little bit. Oddly enough, despite the fact that this isn't a very good situation, they're actually not too worried about it. or so it would seem. Still, 8 meters per second is still a little bit too fast. And so we're just going to kick on the engines. We got plenty of fuel to brake with, so we might as well. And we will land shortly. There we go. Now, we just got a little bit of a launch to do here. We're going to go ahead, now that we've recovered these guys, we're going to go ahead and put up the Minmus station. Now, the way I'm doing it again is quite risky. I could just send the station out on its own without any crew, because it is robotic. And that would work pretty well. But the one issue here with that is that really I want to be able to use this thing as soon as it's ready, and I don't think I have any science on it that will be accessible to us otherwise. I also need to send a lander over at some point, and may go ahead and do that. But we're going to use Bigger Joe for this again. And all we have to do now is, well, first of all, I want to make sure my staging is correct. When I was trying this out a while back, my staging turned out not to be in that good of a way. So we do want to avoid that at all costs. Let's just not, if I had not changed that, of course, what would have probably happened is that whenever I staged these SRBs, the entire stack would just decouple. And given that there's no way down, that could be a bit of a problem. It's definitely something to be worried about, I think. If for no other reason than the fact that a staging error is fatal in this case. I'm just going to zoom out just a little bit, so... Oh, it's staging time already. We need to control from this probe up here. You know, it really would be quite nice if we had the 1.25 meter probes, but I don't think you actually get those until the last tier. And I think that is a bit of a shame. Let's go ahead and fix some of this rotation here. We have rotated just a little bit. There we go. There will be some inclination for us to correct. But yeah, what I'll do is I will go ahead and cut the video here and see you back whenever we get to transmuter injection. And we are back. We just happen to have ourselves a nice little TMI burn that will get us about 104,000 or so. So, yeah, I mean, we can correct later, but it's okay for us to leave that as is. So I'm just going to go to the Space Center now, and I'm going to first of all check out our contracts. It's been a while since we've done that. We should be fulfilling at least one of them pretty soon, within the next hour. Oh yes, I definitely do want that. Let's take this contract just for the money, because we do happen to need the money. And while I am dreaming up a way to fix this, let us launch our other vehicle here. The ITS Bermuda. Let me see if I can find that. ITS Bermuda is going to contain pretty much everything we need to start transferring between different stations, and almost for free. Like the Abel, it's got a nuclear engine on it, although it's only got one of them. But we will take care of that, and we'll get the Bermuda to where it needs to be. That shouldn't be too terribly hard for us to do, I don't think. But we will just have to see. And one thing I do want to point out too is that I added another little mod here aside from the targeting mod rather. I added a cockpit for this Mark II cockpit, or I guess it's now called Mark I inline, which I think is pretty nifty. Squad really should, since they are importing, other mods into the game. I think it would be awesome if they did this. Well, I'm going to go ahead and launch this, and I will see you back, I suppose, after transmimus injection.